Courtney Hadwin became known to millions of people after her unforgettable audition on a popular talent show, and her story quickly captured the attention of viewers around the world. At the beginning, she did not look like someone who would become a star. She walked onto the stage as a shy and quiet teenager who seemed nervous just to be there. Her voice was soft when she spoke, and her body language clearly showed fear and uncertainty. Many people watching at home, and even the judges in front of her, did not expect anything special. It seemed like just another nervous contestant trying to get through the first round. However, everything changed the moment the music started. As soon as she began to sing, her entire personality transformed in a way that shocked everyone. The shy girl who had been standing on stage just seconds before seemed to disappear completely. In her place was a powerful performer full of energy, confidence, and emotion. Her voice was strong, raw, and full of soul, and it reminded people of legendary singers from the past. The audience was stunned, and the judges could not hide their surprise. Within moments, the room was filled with excitement, and by the end of the performance, it was clear that something special had just happened. That single moment changed everything for Courtney. Her audition quickly spread across the internet, gaining millions of views in a very short time. People from different countries watched her performance and shared it with others. Many asked the same question again and again: where did this talent come from? Overnight, she went from being an unknown teenager to a global sensation. This sudden rise to fame brought her attention, praise, and opportunity, but it also brought something else that would shape her future in a very different way. After her audition became a viral moment, Courtney's life changed faster than she could have ever imagined. One day she was living a normal life, and the next day she was being watched, discussed, and judged by millions of people around the world. Her name began appearing in news articles, entertainment shows, and social media posts. People talked about her talent, her unique voice, and her stage presence. Many compared her to famous artists and believed she had the potential to become one of the biggest stars of her generation. This kind of attention may sound exciting, but it also brings a huge amount of pressure, especially for someone so young. Being called a once-in-a-generation talent means that people expect you to be perfect every time. Every performance is judged, every move is analyzed, and every decision is questioned. For a teenager who is naturally shy and quiet, this level of attention could feel overwhelming. While many rising stars try to enjoy the spotlight and use it to grow their careers quickly, Courtney did not seem comfortable with all the attention. She did not act like a typical celebrity who enjoys fame and publicity. Instead, she remained the same person she had always been off stage. She stayed quiet, reserved, and focused on her music rather than the fame around her. This created a strong contrast between what people expected from her and how she actually behaved. Fans wanted more interviews, more appearances, and more updates about her life, but she did not give them much. This difference began to create confusion among people who were trying to understand her. While her talent was clear and undeniable, her personality did not fit the fast and demanding world of entertainment. This was the beginning of a gap that would continue to grow over time between her public image and her personal choices. As Courtney continued her journey on the show, she proved that her first performance was not just a lucky moment. Week after week, she delivered strong and memorable performances that kept audiences interested and excited. Each time she stepped onto the stage, people were curious to see what she would do next. Her unique style and powerful voice helped her stand out from other contestants, and she slowly built a loyal fan base that supported her throughout the competition. Even though she did not win the show, she had already achieved something very important. She had gained global recognition, which is often more valuable than winning a competition. After the show ended, she returned for a special edition where she competed against even stronger and more experienced performers from around the world. This was a difficult challenge, but she managed to hold her ground and continued to impress audiences with her performances. At this point, people no longer saw her as just a contestant from a talent show. Instead, she was viewed as a real artist with her own identity and style. Many believed that this was only the beginning of a long and successful career. Fans expected her to release music quickly, go on tours, and become a major name in the music industry. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. However, even during this time, there were small signs that her path might be different from what people expected. While others rushed to take advantage of their fame, Courtney appeared to move more slowly and carefully. She did not follow the usual pattern that most artists follow after gaining popularity. Instead of focusing on staying in the spotlight, she seemed more interested in staying true to herself and her music. One of the most noticeable things about Courtney's career was how different her choices were compared to other young artists. After gaining fame, many singers try to release albums quickly, perform in as many places as possible, and stay constantly active on social media to keep their audience engaged. However, Courtney did not follow this path. She chose to move slowly and carefully, focusing on her music rather than publicity. This decision surprised many people in the industry because it went against the usual rules of fame. While others were trying to stay visible all the time, she seemed comfortable stepping back and taking her time. She did not rush into big projects or make constant public appearances. Instead, she allowed her career to grow at its own pace. For some fans, this was refreshing because it showed that she was being authentic and not trying to fit into expectations. However, for others, it was confusing and even frustrating. They did not understand why she was not taking full advantage of her popularity. Questions began to appear more often. Why was she not releasing more music? Why was she not giving more interviews? Why was she not more active online? These questions did not have clear answers because Courtney did not share much about her personal decisions. Her quiet and private nature made it difficult for people to understand her choices. This created a sense of distance between her and her audience. While her talent continued to be respected, her absence from the spotlight made her seem more mysterious. Over time, this mystery became a major part of her story, as people tried to figure out what was really happening behind the scenes. As time passed, the gaps between Courtney's public appearances and music releases became longer and more noticeable. At first, this did not seem unusual because many artists take breaks to rest or work on new projects. However, in her case, the silence continued for much longer than expected. Her social media activity became very limited, and eventually it almost stopped completely. There were no updates, no announcements, and no clear communication with her fans. This sudden and complete silence felt different from a normal break. Fans began to notice small details, such as deleted posts and a lack of interaction, which made the situation even more confusing. Without any official explanation, people started to create their own ideas about what might be happening. Some believed that she was simply taking time away from the spotlight to focus on her personal life. Others thought that she might be struggling with the pressure of fame or trying to find her place in the music industry. There were also those who felt worried because they had not heard anything from her for such a long time. The lack of information made it easy for rumors and guesses to spread. This is one of the challenges of being a public figure. When you do not share your story, others will try to create it for you. In Courtney's case, her silence became a major topic of discussion. Instead of focusing on her music, people began focusing on her absence. This shift changed the way her story was seen by the public. What started as a story of talent and success slowly turned into a story of mystery and unanswered questions. Looking at Courtney Hadwin's journey, it becomes clear that her story is not a simple one. It is not just about success or failure, and it is not as dramatic as some people might expect. Instead, it is a story about a young artist trying to find her own path in a world that often expects people to follow certain rules. Her rise to fame was fast and powerful, but the life that came after was more quiet and controlled. She did not chase attention or try to stay in the spotlight at all costs. Instead, she made choices that felt right for her, even if they did not make sense to others. For some people, this may seem disappointing because they expected a different kind of journey. They expected constant growth, big releases, and a strong public presence. However, not every artist chooses that path. Some prefer to protect their privacy and focus on their work in their own way. Courtney's story reminds us that fame is not always easy, especially for someone who is naturally shy and reserved. The pressure, expectations, and constant attention can be difficult to handle. In the end, her journey is not necessarily tragic, but it is different from what people expected. It is a story of talent, pressure, mystery, and personal choice. Whether she decides to return to the spotlight in a big way or continue living a more private life, her impact from that one unforgettable performance will not be forgotten. Her story continues to make people curious, and perhaps that mystery is what keeps her relevant even after so many years. One of the most important parts of Courtney Hadwin's story is the clear difference between her personality and the world she entered after her audition. The entertainment industry is fast, loud, and always demanding attention. It rewards people who are active, social, and constantly visible. However, Courtney did not naturally fit into this environment. From the beginning, she showed that she was more comfortable expressing herself through music rather than through interviews or public appearances. On stage, she became confident and powerful, but off stage, she remained quiet and reserved. This contrast made her unique, but it also created challenges. Many fans could not understand how someone so energetic while performing could be so private in real life. They expected her to act like other young stars who share their daily lives online and interact with their audience regularly. But Courtney chose a different approach. She kept her personal life separate and did not try to build a strong public image outside of her music. This decision may have protected her from some of the pressures of fame, but it also made it harder for people to connect with her. In today's world, where social media plays a huge role in building a career, staying silent can sometimes be misunderstood. People often expect constant updates, and when they do not get them, they begin to lose interest or create their own explanations. For Courtney, this created a situation where her silence became more noticeable than her talent. Instead of talking about her performances or her voice, many people began to focus on her absence and her lack of communication. This shows how important public presence has become in modern entertainment, and how difficult it can be for someone who does not naturally enjoy that kind of attention. As the years passed, the expectations that were created during Courtney's early success did not simply disappear. Instead, they remained in the minds of fans and continued to grow. When someone becomes famous so quickly, people often imagine a very clear future for them. They expect constant success, improvement, and visibility. In Courtney's case, many believed she would become a major figure in the music industry, releasing hit songs and performing around the world. However, when these expectations were not met in the way people imagined, it created a sense of disappointment for some fans. This does not mean that she failed, but rather that the image people had of her did not match reality. Expectations can be powerful, and when they are too high, they can turn even normal decisions into something that seems unusual or concerning. For example, taking a break or releasing music slowly is not uncommon for artists, but in her case, it was seen as something strange because of the high hopes people had for her. This situation can be very difficult for any artist, especially someone who did not seek attention in the first place. It creates a feeling of being constantly watched and judged, even when you are trying to take a step back. Over time, this pressure can influence decisions and make it harder to move freely. It is possible that Courtney simply wanted to grow at her own pace and avoid being pushed into something she was not ready for. However, from the outside, this looked like silence or absence. This difference between reality and perception is a key part of her story, and it helps explain why people began to see her journey as confusing or even troubling. Social media plays a very important role in the careers of modern artists, and in Courtney Hadwin's case, it became one of the most noticeable parts of her story. Today, many celebrities use platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube to stay connected with their fans. They share updates, behind-the-scenes moments, and personal thoughts, which helps build a strong relationship with their audience. However, Courtney did not follow this trend. Her social media presence was limited, and over time, it became even quieter. She posted less frequently, interacted less with fans, and sometimes even turned off comments. This created a sense of distance that made it harder for people to feel connected to her. While some fans respected her choice to stay private, others felt confused or even concerned. They were used to seeing constant activity from other artists, so her silence stood out even more. In many ways, her social media behavior became part of the mystery surrounding her. People started to look for clues in small details, such as deleted posts or changes in activity. Without clear communication, even minor changes began to feel important. This shows how powerful social media has become in shaping public perception. When an artist is active, people feel informed and connected. But when an artist is silent, people begin to ask questions and sometimes create their own answers. In Courtney's case, her decision to stay quiet may have been a personal choice, but it had a strong impact on how her story was understood by the public. It turned her absence into a topic of discussion and added another layer of mystery to her journey. When people hear the title of Courtney Hadwin's story, they might expect something very dramatic or deeply sad. The word tragic suggests loss, failure, or something going seriously wrong. However, when we look closely at her journey, it becomes clear that her story is more complex than that. She did not disappear because of a major scandal or a clear failure. Instead, she made choices that were different from what people expected. She chose privacy over publicity, and she chose to move slowly instead of rushing into fame. These decisions may not fit the typical image of success, but they are not necessarily tragic. In fact, they could be seen as a way of protecting herself from the pressures of the entertainment industry. Fame can be overwhelming, especially for someone who is naturally shy and reserved. By stepping back and controlling how much she shares, she may have been trying to maintain a sense of normal life. The idea that her life is tragic may come more from the expectation